Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to a new episode of Semi-Pro. Tonight, me, Daniel, and Josh are kicking off a new sweep called the, I don't remember what we called it, but it doesn't matter because tonight we are going to be watching The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Ah, yes. Tonight we kick off the underrated masterpieces sweep. Tonight's underrated masterpiece, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, also known as TASM 2.
Also known as TASM 2.
Also known as The Amazing Spider-Man.
What do you guys think of this movie? We've all seen this movie before.
I hate this movie.
We all love this movie. I think this movie is
an
pretty
underrated masterpiece.
Yeah, it's an underrated masterpiece. We all love this movie. At our cores, at our deepest souls, we love this movie.
I don't even think this is a movie.
It's an endurance test.
It's been a while since I watched this movie, and I think I've built this up as such a piece of shit fucking movie that I might enjoy it a little bit.
Yeah,
I might be there
years.
too. I haven't seen this since it came out.
I've seen it since it came out.
I don't know that I even saw it when it came out. I think I watched it a couple years after.
I think I've seen. I don't know if I've sat down and watched it. I've seen bits of it at least. But
I do know that in the poster for this movie, specifically the one we're using as our splash page, there's a curve to the Earth, which is not true.
Yeah, that is true. The Earth is scientifically proven to be
little known mistake.
It actually curves. It does have a curve, but it curves a little bit upwards.
Little mistake.
You left something in the oven too long and it started to curl.
Right. It's like the fact that
Spider-Man poster. Spider-Man is not real, so he shouldn't be in that poster.
Yeah, that is also true. That's a fictional character, which is it's kind of
I remember a lot of goofy things from this movie. I remember Electro's teeth coming together and joining into one.
That's the big one.
I remember that. I remember that one cool shot of him diving.
Right, and I remember the fact that he was diving from nowhere.
That's the opening shot. Yeah, he seems
no. That's
higher
not
than
the
the highest
shot.
building, isn't
That's
it?
not
Isn't
the
that the
opening
opening for this movie?
Because there's a little prologue just before that.
Don't spoil it. We're about to watch it.
Yeah, come on. No spoilers. All right.
I remember the fact that him and Harry Osborn were supposed to be friends, despite the fact that they just met.
And they also he didn't know what Oscorp was in the first movie.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're about to watch The Amazing Spider-Man 2. We will let you know afterwards if we think it's an underrated masterpiece or not. And this whole sweep is going to be filled with movies that we don't like as a group, but that other people seem to for some reason, and we're going to try to come to their point of view. Except for one, which I think we're finally going to do in this sweep that we've never done before, that we all like, but people seem to hate for some reason.
We are going
to be the ones saying
we're going to be the underrated masterpiece.
We're going to be the fanboy who hates a movie or who loves a movie that everyone hates.
We will be the anti-shills.
We will be the last Jedi.
Correct.
We will be the people on Reddit who chew you out if you don't like the movie. Who hunt you down because you're in
who dox you and find where your kids go to school and send in a bomb threat so that they can pick them up in their white van after they leave the school.
Right, yeah. And so we'll get to that. Right now, we're going to pause this really quickly. We're going to watch The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and then we will come back at the end of the movie, and we will let you know what we think as we break down the plot and discuss it. So we will see you in what will be... We're not back yet. We're still going. We will see you in just a second after we finish the movie. It'll be just a second for you, but it'll be in the entire runtime of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 for us. So we will see you in just a moment.
Hey, real quick, peep these. You can't.
All right, we finished. We finished The Amazing Spider-Man 2. We're going to talk about it.
Did we? 5 hours later.
It felt so long. The movie's 2.5 hours, which feels long until you remember Spider-Man 2 is 2 hours and 15 minutes, and this movie was really only 2 hours and 20 minutes. But it felt like so long. Admittedly, this is the first time I've seen this movie since I saw it in the movie theater in 2014 when it came out, which I know it came out in 2014 because it has a song, For You,
Right.
For
And that's some
You.
other 2014 song.
Yeah, the
And
other
also,
2014
like
song.
the hardest electro theme ever.
Yes, but it was also dubstep, so you know it's 2014.
Correct.
This movie felt like it went on forever.
And then it did.
And yeah, and then it kept going for another 3 hours.
And then it wouldn't stop going on and on and on.
That's how
But yeah,
I feel about
underrated classic, underrated masterpiece.
underrated classic, underrated masterpiece for sure.
Absolutely.
It definitely belongs on the list of underrated masterpieces.
I bet this movie has no
Sure.
haters.
No, who could hate this movie? It's
Especially
perfect.
not me.
Yeah, definitely not every single person talking right now.
I know people like
head.
this movie. I know they do. Item is
Yeah.
one of them. He's our friend.
Right.
When Item finds
together.
out that we're going to spend the
together.
next like 30 minutes just talking shit
Yeah.
about this movie.
When Item
no,
finds
I
out we didn't
cannot wait
invite
for
him
Item.
on to this episode of the podcast, he's gonna
Oh,
be
yeah,
a little
that too.
upset.
Yeah.
Like I get that
It's
people
fine.
like
He's
this
playing God
movie,
of War.
and I get that people watching this probably like this movie. That's why they decided to watch this discussion.
Let's be real. No one's watching this.
Right. The 10 people who decided to click on this video,
10?
they've made it to this far.
Okay.
Okay, let's calm down there. This isn't the Super Bowl.
They've made it to this far. The 4 people who decided to watch this, they've made it to
All right,
this
come on,
far.
4. This is my Instagram
So
story.
please, I'm asking you right now, comment or leave a review on the listening platform you're listening to. Why? Why do you like this movie? What is it? What is it about this movie? I get visually it's great, okay? And the score is fantastic. And the suit looks okay except for the stupid reflective eyes.
I'm convinced it's just that. It's the fact that visually it looks good, it's got a good score, and then the suit looks like Spider-Man. That's like it. Other than that, there was nothing in this movie that I can think of where I'm like,
and he's funny, and he's so funny and quirky and quippy.
But he's not. He's not funny. He's cringy.
He's just he's just like douchey. Like
Yes.
he insults every single person out there, and not in like a snarky Spider-Man way.
Yeah.
It's like it's a Deadpool way.
It's not fun. Yeah, he's just like a dick.
There's nothing about this movie that's fun.
Even Deadpool, like his insults are more fun than like Peter Parker's kind of just a dick in this. Spider-Man as well.
Both of them, they're the worst. Every character in this movie is horrible, except for maybe Gwen Stacy, and she's not great.
She's just trying to get out of the movie.
She's just trying to get out of the country.
She's trying to get out, and then she's also just dumb and has a bad habit of going into danger. But Peter Parker's just horrible trying to keep her in the country when she's trying to escape.
She's like, hey, I want to go to Oxford because
it's gets her killed.
It's Oxford, and it's the one of the most prestigious universities in the world, and also, you know, I could go and cure cancer after all of this.
It's like a once in a lifetime opportunity.
And he's like, yeah, but what if you stayed in New York?
But baby, I love you. Hey, baby, I'm from New York, baby, I love you.
Hey, I'm from New York, and I love you or whatnot.
Hey, what if you stayed in New York, and then we got some gabagoo.
Hey, where's the freaking gabagoo? Come on.
This movie.
I like his voice in this. I remember, like, one of the first things I said when we kind of like in his, like, I didn't hate his Spider-Man voice, and then like as soon as like he started talking,
and then he starts speaking, like, oh yeah, that's what it sounds like.
And I could like actually hear what he was saying. Yeah, the accent was not great.
It's horrible.
I'm gonna skip the opening of this movie. The movie opens with
don't skip the opening.
It opens with the deleted scene from The Bourne Identity.
Okay, well, that I forget. It's even we just watched that movie 5 hours later.
That was you were talking about it, and you were like, the opening is the cool. The
opening is so cool. It like opens with the Spider-Man logo, and then it flies out, and then it's on his back, and he's falling from higher than any building.
He's falling from a plane. Oh
my God!
Airplane! Is that a Spider-Man's parents reference? Josh, break down the plot.
So it opens
the movie opens with a cutscene from James Bond, where Peter Parker's dad kills everyone in a plane crash and dies because they're secret agents.
Correct. No, he's
Then
just like a scientist or like something.
yeah, he's a scientist who's working on the spiders, and he's trying to hide it from Oscorp for some reason. And then he gets a private plane with his wife out of the country, but an assassin infiltrates it, so he kills the assassin, and then the plane crashes and kills them all.
But
And
what
then
if
you
he's
get-
alive?
But what if he's alive? No,
but
guys, you
what
don't get it. You guys don't get it.
how he survived that plane crash.
They cut the
Wouldn't
deleted
that
scene
be
from the end of the
crazy?
movie. They cut
They
the deleted
stole
scene,
it from us.
and then they cut the deleted scene from the end of the movie where he comes back and he's like, "Hey, I'm alive. I just haven't been there for
No,
the
you
last
don't get
20
it.
years."
It was the Parker blood that kept him alive.
It was the Parker blood.
The blood. See it all times.
Actually, no, I do think it was that whole thing was meant to start like the clone saga. I think so. I think it might have been a clone of his
No,
dad, which
there's
makes
no
even
way.
less sense. No, because they've talked about
That
TASM
sounds like
3,
something they would do.
and TASM 3's clone saga was they were going to bring back Captain Stacy, they were going to bring back Gwen Stacy, and I think it was going to be his dad. Like his dad was brought back as a clone. That
I
doesn't matter.
don't. I do believe you because that sounds like the kind of thing this movie would do. But I also don't believe you because that's too stupid for anyone to think is okay. Which I guess it's fine because they can't.
I
The movie.
believe that. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. The
Nah,
next
man, they're gonna make it. They're making TASM 3. You don't get it. Andrew Garfield, he liked a comment on a post that was vaguely about Spider-Man 3, TASM 2, 3, 2, 1 being made. So it's gonna happen.
Can we
So.
talk about really quickly? Can we talk for a second about how much better
No.
he is in No Way Home than he
Oh,
is in this
yeah.
movie?
Oh yeah,
Because I
Like,
remember.
it's like day and night.
I remember watching No Way Home and thinking, man, I
Man,
really like Andrew Garfield in this movie, and I don't know if it's because of like
Garfield is
my blind hatred for
Mhm.
the Amazing Spider-Man movies, or if it like I thought that's what it was. If I'm being honest, I thought it was because like I hated those movies, and so I hated him. Whatever. But then I watch this and it's like, oh no, it's because it's not the same character. It's just the same actor.
Right.
You know,
Well,
like
that's it. Andrew Garfield is far from the worst part of this movie.
I don't
like
know.
him-
He's not very good in this movie.
No, but he's.
I mean, the thing is, like this movie. When we kept saying this throughout this movie is riddled with fantastic actors, but like they're
Giving
all
the worst performance
given
of
the
their
worst
career.
performances you've ever seen.
awful.
Jamie Foxx, Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, Chris Cooper, and Sally Fields. All of
Dane
whom
DeHaan.
Dane DeHaan. All of who have like won awards because they've been such good actors.
Won awards for acting.
Acting, the thing that they do for their living, and they somehow none of them sound like they've ever spoken before.
Dane DeHaan is the worst. Dane
Dane
DeHaan in
DeHaan's the
this
worst.
movie, it feels like an SNL
doesn't-
skit. Every time he starts talking, it feels like a Saturday Night Live skit.
It
It's
doesn't help that his character is the most shoehorned. Like every
Yeah.
other character exists somewhat naturally.
Well, yeah,
And then
No,
shoved it.
no character in this movie exists naturally.
Right,
His
this
is
movie
just the
isn't
least natural.
But the thing
Right.
is, this could have been exactly the same, but without his character, and it was just Norman turning into the Goblin, and Peter finds out because of some other way, because he's snooping around Oscorp, Gwen Stacy.
He doesn't need
whatever.
to find out. Peter doesn't need to find.
Sure.
He doesn't need to have a personal relationship with the Goblin.
Right, but to find out to further for story purposes, but like I don't know. I think this movie could have been a lot better than it was.
The movie's riddled with great ideas that it never ever like.
Yeah,
touches
but they're
upon.
great ideas because they're
It's
things that
not.
other Spider-Man properties have done well. They're
Yeah, but
not
that's
great
just-
ideas because this
Or,
movie
yeah.
has good ideas. It's great ideas that are stolen from other Spider-Man properties.
Yeah, but that's just most like comic book movies.
that's-
Yes,
well,
but
that's
most
the
of them
movie-
are good.
Right.
well,
This
yes.
one's not. There's nothing here. There's nothing to latch onto. There's no character beat that I like. There's not a single human being in this movie other than, once again, maybe Gwen Stacy, but I really don't like her, that I thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah.
I
So what
hate
else-
most of this movie.
Well, plot with something.
We haven't even. I mean, we
Right
haven't
down
even
the
gone.
plot.
We haven't gone past the plane crash yet.
Plane crash is We're past that. Then it's the opening.
Then you get the cool scene of him like swinging down, and it looks kind of sick and everything.
Ah, but
I'm like,
Josh, you have a fun counter for this scene, don't you?
I
You
do.
You got a
I
little
do.
tally mark.
Well, I'm gonna get there. I'll get there. It's a fun scene
Yeah,
where
it's great.
he,
What should have been the actual opening scene?
what should have been the actual opening,
Lovely little swinging sequence.
and it's some of the best. I know Dalton disagrees, but I think it's some of the best swinging I've seen Spider-Man do in a movie. I think it's great.
I never said that. It is some of the best. I
very good.
prefer, and it's not a testament to the effects or whatever. I prefer the more like smooth and controlled swinging of the Raimi trilogy to the more wild, janky swinging of these movies, which is not to say one looks better than the other. This one probably looks better and is more realistic. There's just something about that very like smooth, kind of controlled swinging of the Raimi movies that I enjoy. And they kind of went with an in-between ground for the MCU movies. It just has never looked as good as either of those two trilogies.
I like the end of Far From Home when he's doing it on his phone. It's like POV.
Right, and it's like it's sort of controlled, but it's also sort of like janky and wild. So I don't disagree in that I think this is bad. It's more like it's not my preference. I prefer the very controlled, very smooth swinging that's in the Raimi movies. But
Yeah, I think they're both fun and quirky.
they're both
anyways, that
different,
scene
which is
happens.
also good that they did it different too. But yeah, anyway, that scene happens.
That's how I feel about every scene in this film. It's like, oh, that scene happened.
Yeah, that movie happened.
So in the scene, there's a big truck chase as a truck goes piling down the street, getting chased by cop cars because they've stolen some stuff from Oscorp.
Yeah,
What
he's
stuff?
chasing-
What's the stuff? It's
ball.
orange, but what is it?
It's stuff.
I don't remember. It's
Does it come? It has to come back up later in the movie, right?
You're talking about this movie like it's cohesive. Don't put that idea out.
But the orange stuff, it's got to come back up later in the movie, right?
Says who?
Is driving a truck.
Paul Giamatti is driving a car, and he goes, "My name is Alexis Telefonskich,"
And he goes, I am the Rhino. I
Uh,
am Paul Giamatti.
No, he
And
doesn't
then-
say that till the end of the movie. Don't
then-
spoil the
Why was
ending.
it in the trailers? Why was it in every single?
And
trailer?
then, well, during this truck chase, we get Spider-Man swinging in, and you're like, "Oh, Spider-Man! He's gonna do
Finally,
Spider-Man
Spider-Man,
stuff.
he's here to save us.
He's gonna do this. He's gonna crack a couple of jokes as he swings along and he stops the truck and he saves everyone." No, Spider-Man lets 27 people die in the course of this chase, and I tallied every single one. He sits on the side of the truck and like
I still think that should be 25. I don't think those guys in the alley got hit with trash.
Dude, those guys in
they-
the alley died harder
got
than anyone
crushed.
else.
they
Oh,
got crushed.
No!
They're fine.
They died harder than the rest of the people that died. The people in the alley were like they were crushed up against a wall, dude.
It was just a little bit of trash. It wasn't even like a full dumpster. It was just a bit of trash.
They were smushed by the car.
The car didn't hit them though.
They were like planks of wood that got thrown into them.
They're dead.
They're
27.
fine. They're
27.
And they are
fine.
dead.
Even 25.
But nonetheless, Spider-Man sits on the side of the truck and cracks jokes, and then swings away as the truck plows through a intersection and just drives through about 4 different cars.
Don't
Yeah, that
forget
was-
he
That
answers
was like half of the tally right there.
Yeah,
he
and it, like-
answers a
it,
phone
like-
call from his girlfriend.
Yeah, well, that's after it, I think. It's June because he
He's
That's
riding
like-
on the front of the cop car, and instead of fighting the bad guy, he's talking
when
to
he's-
Gwen
he's-
Stacy.
Yeah, and his phone ringer is the Spider-Man.
yeah.
That's when he sees
And then he hums it later, and then Dane DeHaan also says the words to the song.
Yeah.
There's several references to that in this movie.
Yeah, and then that's when he sees the ghost of Gwen Stacy.
He sees the ghost of Gwen Stacy, which happens like once again in this movie.
Once. Oh no.
Once.
Yeah, it happens. It
It
happens at the
happens
start, and then
once.
it happens again. It happens again at
Oh, yeah, that
the
was like
duration.
one other time.
It happens
then-
like 4 or 5 other times.
No,
in
no,
this
no.
movie.
It's just like
no,
2 or
it's a
3.
lot. It's a bunch. No, it's a
no,
bunch.
Josh. It continually
was quite
happens. It
That's what we
happens
should
throughout
be
the
doing.
beginning
way-
of the movie, middle, and the end.
Either way, we get Spider-Man swinging around. He stops the truck and he zips up Alexi's and like pulls his pants down and then like gives him a nookie. And
Right. After
swings-
27 people have died,
after 27 people have been crushed,
he decides to pants a man who murdered 27 people.
and then he's like, "Oh man, I'm going to be late to my graduation," and so he has to swing.
Spider-Man did.
In this universe, J. Jonah Jameson is absolutely right. Spider-Man is a menace, and he should be stopped.
This is the perfect universe for J. Jonah Jameson, and it doesn't have him.
It doesn't have
No,
J. Jonah
it
Jameson.
does. It has him in an email.
It's an email where Peter Parker says, "Hey,"
emailing him instead of texting him.
he says,
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Either way, he swings to his graduation and he swings down. He gets changed in a second.
Oh,
and
but
then
he
forgets
leaves his
mask.
mask
He leaves the
on.
mask on and wanders out into the crowd. And he's like, "Whoop whoop!" And Stanley goes.
Stanley says, "I know that guy."
Stanley recreates Leonardo DiCaprio from Once Upon a Time in
Right.
Hollywood. He goes.
He goes.
He walks on stage.
Daniel, no
grabs his
one could see
diploma.
you but me.
He walks on stage, grabs his diploma, and then kisses Gwen Stacy. Very unprofessional move.
In
I
a
must say.
very, like, I don't know,
Right,
you don't do that type beat.
Well, like he grabs her and dips her in front of
Yeah.
everybody.
You don't
It's very-
you if you're doing that, if you're kissing your girlfriend at your graduation while you're walking across the stage, which number one, you don't do that. Like it's a very like
She's valedictorian too.
it's
so
a
she's
very
like,
professional environment, and that's one of
Yeah.
the things you just don't do. If
feel
you're
like-
going to, you peck her on the cheek very politely and then walk away. Because she can get in trouble for that, and you can get in trouble for that. And you don't want to put her in the position
No,
to
but you
get in
don't get it.
trouble.
Though. Peter Parker in this movie, he's like a cool bad boy. He wears Thrasher.
Yeah, you're right. He's a
Hey, do you guys know
dog.
his skates? Did you guys know his skates? He wears a Thrasher shirt.
He has a Thrasher shirt. I don't know if you know.
Peter
this.
Parker-
He doesn't
Peter-
skateboard in this movie, though.
Peter Parker is me when I was like
Set up
6
his-
years old, and my brother skated, and I wore a Thrasher shirt. So I was like, "Yeah, I basically skate
Yeah,
because
I skate.
I've seen a person skate
I've
once."
ridden a skateboard before. I skate.
If this movie weren't a soft reboot of the first movie, I'd say that he skated, but he doesn't because they rebooted
Right.
that movie with this movie and just kept the cast.
What does happen after? Oh, he sees Gwen Stacy's dad again, and he's like, maybe.
Oh wait,
I should-"
but I thought he only saw him one more time in this movie.
yeah,
yeah, it does. This is the last time he sees him, isn't it?
Yeah, is it? No, there's at least like one or
Maybe
two
at the
He-
maybe at the Chinese.
He
I
sees
think
him at the
during the
Chinese
Electro
restaurant, and then he sees him twice at the
restaurant.
end.
I feel like there was one in the Electro fight too, like the first
Probably.
time in the Electro
It's
fight.
during the Electro fight. He just sees like Electro as Gwen Stacy's dad doing everything. And he's like, "Oh man, I need to kill this guy."
Like, man, I gotta snap out of this.
And every time he sees Gwen Stacy's dad, he's like, "Hey, maybe I should have listened to him and not put his
But he
daughter in."
isn't like that. He doesn't.
No, well,
well, no,
He
no,
doesn't
does.
do that at all, but he
Like,
does do that, but he
no,
also
he
doesn't.
He does do that. He does do that, and then he breaks up with her at the
No.
Chinese place.
No.
Yeah.
She breaks up with him.
Well, he's saying that he, but I break up with.
I
your
break
ass.
up with you.
I dump your ass.
Well, no, that's from
He's-
Stranger Things.
Yeah, that's what this.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
It evokes the same feelings in me. I have not seen
Purely
Stranger
negative.
Things.
Yeah.
So yeah, they break up outside of a Chinese restaurant, and this is the first like actual Spider-Man bit in the movie where you get a montage of him just kind of
Very
doing his thing. He saves a kid from being bullied and then walks him home. A really wholesome scene. He gets a bit of a cold and he's still like.
Oh, I guess that's
Which-
how he knew.
So
I guess that's
the-
how he knew the kid had a mom.
The
Mm.
kid,
He walked the kid home.
yeah,
That was the scene.
maybe. The scene
Yeah.
with the kid is the scene
Probably
that people
hard.
always quote when talking about this movie. They're like, "This is the scene. It's perfect Spider-Man." And yes,
And it is.
it is. But
very-
it's
very-
10 seconds of this movie, and this movie is 7 hours long.
Yeah, that scene does not.
And also,
at all redeem
It's
this movie.
so
Very good.
so out of place
Movie.
when 10 minutes earlier he swung away from people who
He let
a
27 people die.
plowed through.
By Daniel's count, 25.
But yeah, then he gets like a bit of a cold, so he wraps himself up in a scarf and a beanie.
That
He's
one-
still
that one-
Spider-Man.
I like that bit. I like that bit a lot, and I
like
wish
that.
he
I like
talked
that.
like
I
that
liked
the
his-
rest
I
of the
liked his
movie.
voice. Yeah, I liked his voice in that.
I'm Spider-Man. I'm Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
I'm Spider-Man.
That's really how he should talk, given that the mask probably cuts off circulation to his
Right.
nose. That's how he talks. I noticed that's the same way he talks when he's talking to Norman Osborn or Harry Osborn later in the movie, trying to disguise his voice.
That's hard. I didn't catch that.
What, during this little montage, he
Josh forgot the plot.
He lost the
vaguely.
plot in more way than one. More way than one.
during this little montage, he sneaks in a bit of time to stalk his ex-girlfriend while people burn alive in a burning building.
Yeah, because
Oh,
he's
he's like-
me.
He's like,
Yeah, it's just
maybe I
like-
shouldn't have broken up with her and saved her life.
He didn't break up with her. She broke up with him. Get it right.
She break up with him, Josh. Come on.
It's not
My
that
bad,
hard
my
to understand, dude.
So anyway, so he broke up with her and then regrets breaking up with her, and also puts off saving people from a burning building. You know, Toby Spider-Man would have been in there like that. He wasn't
Without
like
his
that.
powers.
And he
Tobey
went in without
Maguire's
his powers.
Spider-Man would have been in that building with no powers at all. You know how I know that? Because he did it in Spider-Man 2 with no powers. He went into that building anyway. And Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man literally ignores it to stare at a woman.
Hey, come on. We've all been there.
He's just like me, for real.
I get that he's the most relatable Spider-Man, but I don't like myself.
We also, I skipped over this because
he's kind of the most relatable Spider-Man, but at the same time, like he isn't.
No,
like-
yes.
he's
In
the
terms
most
of his characterization, he is, because he does dumb, selfish things.
Yeah,
And I
but in
get
terms
what
of-
they were going for with that.
he does
but
what
also,
an actual person with Spider-Man's powers would do.
but the people who do stuff like that do not like themselves. So there's no wish fulfillment there. You want to be the person who would swoop in and save people from a burning building. You don't want to be who you are staring at a woman from the distance as she walks away from you because she dumped you.
Right. I also completely glossed over this because I forgot it was part of it. But during the opening truck chase, he takes time out of saving people to save one specific loser played by Mr. Jamie Foxx, Max,
Right.
who, like,
Right. Max Dillon.
Who may
It
be the lamest person to ever
only-
exist.
it's
the
like
lamest person in existence, and also the only black man in existence to ever have a comb over.
He
Dan,
feels
you-
like
Possibly jacked.
Dan,
we're very
you
chill
said
out.
this. It was like they Googled 80s loser and just put everything on Google Images into one character. It's like, you know, he's nerdy, he doesn't have any friends, he has a comb over, he's got glasses, he's got a buck tooth, he's got
People don't like him.
people don't like him. They
talks
walk
to
into
himself.
him and
He's
they
got a messy apartment. He's got one specific niche that he's really into. He's got one specific person that he's really into.
we see the
It
inside of his
feels-
apartment
he
and
feels
it's just
like-
covered in lights. It's
Oh,
covered in
it's
lights
his
for no
birthday. It's his
reason.
birthday, and he's all alone, and he gets left at work alone, and he has to talk to a pretty girl, and it's an embarrassing, awkward conversation.
God, he's just
where
like
he
me.
lies about being
it's his
cool.
birthday and he's gonna light his candles. But
Right.
also he feels like a character who the friends of friends would have bullied for existing.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like he feels like a character on Friends who they would have made
He
fun of
feels
in the
like-
coffee shop.
He
Mhm.
feels like a stereotype.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's the kind of character that would be in like a scary movie kind of
Mhm.
film where like they're trying to make fun of the nerdy character who gets killed at the beginning of the movie, and so they just go all out on everything. But he's meant to be taken seriously.
Right. This is meant to be one of the villains of the film.
He
This
is
is meant
the
to be the
main
sympathy-
villain of the movie.
Right.
And then yeah, it's his birthday.
Although I guess that's arguable.
Yeah, I feel like they're kind of
It-
both the main.
That's a
Villain?
problem we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
That's a later problem. But we get introduced to his birthday where he's got a cake with the Electro colors on it. You guys get
Don't
it? It's a nice
forget,
birthday.
he's gonna light his candles.
And he's gonna light his candles.
Gonna light his
But he has to go to work. And he goes to work and he gets bullied at work too. And as he's about to clock off, his boss comes in and goes, "Nope."
His boss, played by BJ Novak
boss-
for some reason.
The
Right.
screen comes up with the fat guy from Jurassic Park and it just goes,
Don't forget, he talks to Gwen Stacy, and she's a woman, and it makes him nervous. And he says,
Right.
"You can't come to my party because there's going to be too many famous
the
people
guest
there."
Yeah, and then she
At a
walks
big
down. She's
club.
like, "Well, happy birthday, Max. I hope you have a nice day." And he goes, "Remember my name."
Yeah, I don't think he did that, but
No,
I
he did. He goes,
He
"No,
does.
she knew,
He does say that. He says she
He
remembered
goes-
my name.
she knew my name," and then the doors close on him because even the doors hate this nerd.
Also, does this dude not get how name tags work?
Apparently not. He forgets that he has his own name tag. And
Yeah.
also his boss goes, "Hey,
is
we need you to go check out the eel tanks." And he goes, "Yeah, but it's my birthday. Can't I go home?" And he goes, "No,"
birthday.
and then leaves.
Which there are
So
two
who-
arguments here. Number one, either why didn't you take off work for your birthday? It's your job. Do your job. Also, just leave. Neither of which paint Max in a good light.
And
I just
one of
leave.
which involves him having to deal with multiple health hazards.
They're just
Right.
very different. Like,
And this
they're-
is all more like stereotypical, like
It's
shitty
also it's
80s
weird.
movie dorky character.
It's
this
so-
movie
everything
does
is going
feel.
bad for
It's
him.
it's
It
so
feels like
bizarre
an 80s
going
movie, but
from
not in like a good way.
it's
This
so
movie
bizarre
is
going
an
from
80s
TASM
movie.
1 to this.
Yeah.
Going from TASM 1, where like the villain is Doc Connors and it's really sympathetic. He wants to get his arm back. He wants to feel like he has his life under control again. So he experiments on himself because he's gone too far.
He's
But it's
also
like-
just like horribly haunted.
Yeah, and he's like horribly depressed. He's like, "I'm sorry that your father died. It's awful. I'm sorry that you got orphaned at a young age." Uh, and it's this really good story about a good character, and you get this where he's in 2 scenes before he gets made full Electro, and I don't care about anyone in this movie. I
And
especially don't care
even
about him.
as Electro, like, it's so frustrating.
This feels like an almost more extreme version of if the only
Spider-Man 3.
movies- Well, sure, but also if the only movies in like the 80s and 90s Batman movies were 89 and what was the last one? Was it that was Batman and
Batman and
right?
Robin, yeah.
Yeah. Like if Forever and Returns just didn't exist. and
Yeah, that's
like
the best
89,
analogy.
That's a
like
good-
it just
yeah.
jumps.
But even that, like that's like I feel like it's even more extreme than that.
It
Somehow.
is because at least those two share a similar style where.
Yeah.
I
You
would
know-
say I'm gonna disagree a little bit with that because
Well,
I feel like
it is a bit more extravagant in
for
Batman. and Robin.
Forever, Batman Forever really bridges the style between those two movies. But if you jump from Batman '89 to
blur.
Batman and Robin, like that's a big jump.
Yeah. So I feel
But
like
it is more extreme than that. It would be like jumping from Batman Begins to Batman and Robin. Like it's
Right.
that big of a jump.
Yeah.
It's just such a tonal shift, and this is what we mean when we said that there's good ideas in this movie that like if Electro was the sole
Man.
villain of this film, you could probably get a few scenes of him as like Max, flesh him out, make him an actual person, where he's stressed at work and he's overworked and he's underpaid, but he keeps it all together and he's just trying to do his best, but he gets abused by the people up top or whatever.
But they
But
didn't
he's-
want him to be an actual person, so they didn't make him an actual person. They made him a
No, instead, you just
stereotype.
get this guy.
They
No,
made
but
him a
You don't
sitcom.
get it. He's special, but he's special. You don't get it. He's special.
They made him a sitcom nerd and expected you to sympathize with him anyway, despite the fact that he's like it's not like he's a sympathetic villain. He's a horrible person. He's horrible.
He obsesses over people who he's just met and idolizes them to the point of insanity. He is rude and self-absorbed with him. Like he's always like, "Oh, I just want the focus to be on me. I want to be. It's all about me, me, me." And I get that's kind of what they were going for in that. But it would work if we see that he's meant to be selfless and like he's actually helping other people, and he's just like subconsciously wanting to
He's
be a
not
bit about himself.
he's just a loser schizo asshole.
As we
yeah,
were
he's-
watching this movie, we wrote a better version of this character in a
Right.
world where people don't like Spider-Man, because they really hinted that before this. Like, people don't like Spider-Man, people view him as the bad guy. If like Max viewed him as the bad guy and then or viewed him as the good guy and then started to view him as the bad guy because of the public image of Spider-Man, or maybe like, I don't know, his
Maybe, like,
aunt.
even-
His aunt was in the car pile that happened in the beginning of the
Yeah.
movie, or something like that, right?
Mhm.
And then he starts to view Spider-Man as the bad guy, and because of that, he wants to put a stop to him. They could have done so many different things other than Spider-Man didn't remember my name.
my name, and I'm just crazy schizo and angry at the world, and also a loser.
Well, yeah. So
Yeah.
All right, yeah, had to pause it for a second. We had some technical difficulties. Josh, continue.
Electro becomes Electro, and he looks cool. He's all like crusted up in charred stuff.
I really liked that look of him, of crusty Electro. He looked like a mummy.
I'm just gonna skip over most of the Harry Peter stuff because I don't like it and I don't want to talk about it. And you can summarize it in about 5 words. So.
Well, so Harry and Peter
and
were best
one of those words
friends.
is racist.
Harry and Peter were best friends in like middle school,
Best
and
friends when they
haven't
were like one of them was like 10, the other would have been like 12 or something, or like 8
Yeah.
and 10 or something.
they were best friends then, and they haven't talked since then, which is why Harry wasn't in the first movie, despite the fact that they should have just put Harry in the first movie. But they didn't put Harry in the first movie because they didn't want it to be too much like Spider-Man 2002. But now they're trying to rekindle their friendship, and by doing that, they skip rocks together. And Peter goes, "That's the
All on the
question,"
wrist.
and then he says,
But
"It's all on the wrist," and that's it.
It's all
And
on the
that's the whole thing. And Harry Osborn was in tabloids, despite the fact that he's a nobody. And that's really
he's-
it. Like, that's all that
he's,
happens.
he's the son.
He
He's the
was
son
no,
of
but he was
Norman.
with a French supermodel, and
He's the son of Norman, who tells him, "Hey, you're dying of the same disease I got, but for some reason it affects Harry quicker, but it doesn't."
Yeah, and it's dumb, and
Well,
I don't care.
It doesn't establish that it affects him quicker. It just it kind of almost shows it, but it doesn't. It just because we don't know how quickly it affected Norman when he
Well,
was younger.
there's videos of Norman, and he's got like a cane that he needs to walk. So it's like, I don't know, it doesn't seem that bad. And then you see him in bed, and he's covered, he's all green and scaly.
Green, like some kind of goblin.
Like,
He's got,
like some kind
But
of-
they
long
talk
goblin
ab-
nails.
they talk about it like like Harry is gonna die soon.
Yeah, well,
when in
Harry operates
reality,
in the rest
like-
of the movie, like he's
got,
on
like,
the verge
40
of death.
years.
Norman
just
dies at a reasonable dying age.
He's like, he was like 60 something.
Yeah, he was in his 60s. He died at the same age that plenty of other famous people have died. Definitely no one recently.
I think
Yeah,
Norm Macdonald
What a fortuitous
died.
day to be
Last
recording this on.
That's why I said it. But nobody knows
was
what.
he 60?
For reference, we are recording this about 6 hours after the news that Kevin Conroy has unfortunately passed
It's
away. at the age
been
of
longer than
66.
6 hours.
Yeah, it's been longer than 6 hours.
It's been like 12, yes.
But yeah, he
Yeah.
was 66. Norman was in his 60s in this movie. Like, it's not an unreasonable age to die.
Right. And then 10 seconds later we find out that Harry and Peter are best friends and have been for years, but they just haven't spoken in 8 years. And Peter walks into his house like he's just been there that entire
Dude,
time.
he opens his front door.
That is crazy. Like no knock or nothing.
Yeah, he's just walking in and he's like
In the middle of a board meeting.
So I
Hey,
heard
what's
about your
what's
dad.
good? Hey, how you doing?
He's like,
How's
hey,
your father?
hey, who's combing your hair?
You look like Adolf Hitler.
And then
Can we
him
continue?
and Harry go on a little date where they catch up, and he goes, "Oh, I was in Europe. I know you're in Europe. I saw you on a magazine." That's the
Tabloids. You were
question.
with a French supermodel.
Josh, you said we could summarize this in 2 minutes, and
Yeah,
we
do
did.
it-
So
do it
just move
quickly,
on.
come on. Go
Yeah,
quick.
well,
Jeez.
after this scene, we get Peter go back to Gwen calls Peter to meet up again for some reason. They have a talk. They're like, hey, maybe we should get back together. But
I don't know
Peter
why
gets
she did
sidetracked.
that.
No, there's no evidence or reason. There's no reason for anything in this movie. Peter notices that Times Square's going a bit schizo, so he swings down there, and Electro's walking down. He's all blue and disoriented, and he's like, what do I do? And Spider-Man comes in.
Does he talk
goes-
like that in the movie, or are you making that up? I
I don't
genuinely
think- I
can't
don't-
remember.
Yeah, I can't remember.
The fact
at
that
all.
none of you can remember speaks volumes, so I'm going to say he talks like it.
I love Electro's design in the hoodie.
Right, he
I love
looks
Electro's
fantastic.
design when he's crusty. I love Electro's design in his leather costume. I love Electro's design in
I
this
like the little
movie.
lightning stuff.
He's got like
costume. Very cool and important.
it's like translucent skin, and you can see all the synapses and stuff firing underneath. It looks
Yeah,
looks
and
sick.
when he gets angry, it gets like orange and then
Yeah, it
red.
gets like red
Very
and
cool, quirky.
absolutely
Red and
fire.
yellow and orange.
His
And
his
then
eyes
while
are
he's on
black.
Times Square, Electro does some electricity and then tries to shock some people. And Peter
Spider-Man
talks to him.
Spider-Man comes up to him and he's like, "Hey, how can I help you?"
Yeah,
And
I was
he-
getting there, dude. It was next.
Hey, we're trying to get there fast. Come on. First you tell him he's going too slow. Now he's going too fast. Let's just
Come on.
get it going.
Spider-Man's like,
That's
"Hey,
where Spider-Man
who are
says,
you?
"Hey,
Hey,
hey,
what's the
I'm the-
gabagoo?
hey,
Who are you?"
Big idea here.
And Electro's like, "Oh, I'm your eyes and ears."
I
and
think
then-
Spider-Man says that actually, but yeah, it's whatever.
Well, no, he's like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
he
you
goes-
saved me in the street," and he goes, "Oh yeah, you're my eyes and ears. What's your
Go for
name?"
it.
It's
And it's
he
here
says,
where the
"What's your name?"
doubt starts
And
to
he
come
says-
into Max's head, where he's like, maybe Spider-Man doesn't remember me. Maybe I'm a nobody.
yeah, but then he's like, "Oh, your name's
Yeah,
Max."
I remember it.
Oh,
It's and he goes, "It's Max," and he goes, "It's Max."
is it
All
Max?
quickly. He's like, "Oh, is it Max? Is that your name? See, I remembered it. Hey, see, forget about it."
And during this whole situation, all of the news cameras and all the screens on Times Square are showing Max's face. He's like, "People are actually seeing me. I'm
Finally.
getting attention. This is nice."
I think this is when we started to write the better version of this movie.
This was
Yes, it is.
and it is during this bit that the cameras then switch on to Spider-Man because it's Spider-Man. He's here to save the day.
He's
like,
saving people.
Yeah.
I'm Spider-Man.
And he's like, "Oh, you know what? I've had enough of this guy." And he tries to swing a car at him. So Spider-Man jumps in slow motion, splits his web in two, and saves people who are trying to run up the stairs away from the car. And he saves the day. He looks great. And Electro decides to go full Goblin mode.
No,
And-
he starts morbing.
He morbs out, and he flies into one of the screens and like sucks all the power out of everything, and then explodes in a pretty sick shot that I really liked.
Well, that's another thing. I don't think I mentioned a lot while we were watching, but the electricity effects
They were
are
fantastic.
absolutely insane.
Everything
I
in this movie
not even
looks
just-
good.
Not even just like how good the visuals are, but just the effects themselves were so
Every time-
friggin' cool.
Every time he throws like lightning somewhere, there's this like after smoke that's all orangey and misty. It looks fantastic.
There are
Absolutely
two
beautiful.
things visually in this movie I don't like, because I like everything. I like the city architecture. I like the look of Oscorp. I like the costume designs. I don't like Spider-Man's reflective lenses, and I don't like the Goblin design. Other than that, I like visually everything in this movie, and that one glass computer screen Gwen Stacy uses. I don't like that because it doesn't make sense. Other than those three things,
No, you
everything
don't get
in this
Oscorp.
movie looks
Oscorp is
perfect.
really rich. Oscorp is really rich, so they have like futuristic technology.
Yeah,
so
but
it's like
Peter
No, but they're,
Parker's
like,
using
really
a
rich.
Vizio.
they're really rich. Well, that's because Sony made this movie.
That's because Sony made this movie and they don't want to give anyone else any screen time.
You know that this movie was made by Sony.
So Electro's kind of come to terms with its full power, and Spider-Man shoots him with a load of water.
But he took the time between shooting him
he
with a
took the
load of
time
water
to-
to let people die
But as,
so that he
to-
could
to
put on a firefighter hat.
What
Yeah, but
about-
don't. It's a
he
funny
could've-
scene,
the lightning should have shot up the.
and it should have
Yeah,
killed
because
Spider-Man.
that's not how electricity works.
It should've-
Water
it should've
doesn't
killed
kill
Spider-Man and
electricity. In
everyone.
fact, water is a conductor of electricity, so the electricity should have went through the water and shocked Spider-Man. He should be dead,
But that's
as
neither
well as
here
all
nor
those
there,
firefighters.
Then- and
Also,
then-
Peter Parker's a scientist. Why wouldn't he know that?
And then I shit you not, the next like
I know
How-
that. I'm an idiot, and I know that water is a conductor of electricity. I know that. I'm stupid. Like, I'm
And then-
straight
well-
up dumb.
the
Yeah.
thing is, after this, the next like hour and a bit of the movie is just a back and forth of Gwen saying, "Hey, I'm going to go to England to study at Oxford because it's Oxford," and Peter going, yeah, but what if you didn't?
Not to mention, it's also the subway stuff with Peter's dad.
Yeah, and stupid subway stuff that I don't even want to talk
So he
about.
goes
Nothing,
crazy when he
nothing
builds a
pays
wall.
off. Even the Gwen
Nothing
stuff
pays
doesn't really pay off. Like nothing.
Well, it pays off.
I
I
mean,
guess.
yeah, it pays off because she dies and snaps her neck.
Right.
But nothing in the middle portion of the movie
never.
is really worth watching.
So yeah, so it's basically just Gwen going, "Hey, I'm going to go to England," and Peter being mad that she's choosing to go this once in a lifetime opportunity instead of staying in New York and dying.
Like New York is not a good city as painted in this movie. Nothing happens.
It's not painted as a good city in this movie.
And
Yeah,
that's what I said.
I
I said that verbatim.
No, I misunderstood what you said, but I'm going to steal it.
It's
anyway.
also not painted as a good city in real life, but that's a whole other
Right.
discussion. Except for you can go to that one shop and get your food done the Aki way. You can get peanut butter and jelly the long way. But
long way.
but like it's full of criminals. It's full of people at Oscorp trying to make genetically modified creatures. Nothing
Weird
in this.
electric Jamie Foxx.
It's
Paul
weird
Giamatti in
electric
a
Jamie
rhino
Foxx.
suit.
Let her get out of there. Also, you're Spider-Man and you're going to kill her. You've acknowledged that several times. Her dad
Also,
knew
it
that.
was her father's literal dying wish. His fucking dying wish as he's like dying to like help Spider-Man save the city. He said, "Leave my daughter out of this."
And he not only does he
ignore his dying wish, but he does it in the douchiest fucking way possible.
not only that,
Those are the
like
best kind of promises.
not only does he just ignore her father's dying wish and continue to date her, because that would have been one thing. He continually, time after time after time, puts her in the middle of life-endangering situations. She
Kinda
came to
just dumb.
Times Square. He brought her to Times Square. During the Electro attack, he brought her there.
Yeah, but then later he webbed her up to the car, so he was trying.
Well, either way.
But he brought her there.
The rest of it doesn't matter. The rest of the movie is Peter Parker realizing that his dad had a secret underground train station that was full of science labs. That doesn't add anything to the movie either.
The tokens were hidden in a calculator.
Yeah, but
And that song plays. Daniel, sing the song.
For you.
For you.
So while Peter Parker
I
realizes
love
this,
you long after you're gone.
No, seriously. What does it add to the movie?
Yeah, no, this movie is serious.
What does it add to the movie? Because it doesn't do anything.
What, the song or the scene?
Like it sets up that his dad created spiders, which we already knew, and it doesn't
set up him being alive at the end.
Do you mean what does it add to this movie, or what does it possibly add to future movies? Because they're very different. One of them has an answer, the other does not.
It doesn't matter. I hate it, and it's dumb, and it doesn't add anything to this film. It doesn't even add anything to, unless he came in this movie goes, I figured out the secret to cloning. It doesn't add anything to the next movie.
It does, however, take the
if the Clone Saga thing is true and that's what they were planning, then it does what they have does kind of set up that, just because it establishes more of what his dad was doing and his whatever yada yada. Blah, blah, blah.
What it does do is it takes away the specialness of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like it takes away him being specific and special, or it takes away this idea of Spider-Man that anyone could be Spider-Man, which, as we said, was something that this movie, and especially the first Amazing Spider-Man, did really well. Like it was this idea that anybody could be Spider-Man. You could be Spider-Man. And like even the Maguire movies don't do that super well, because I can't be Tobey Maguire. That man's gorgeous. But I could be Andrew Garfield. He skateboards through the hallways of his high school. You know, it's just it takes that away. Because it says, well, not anybody could be Spider-Man. You have to have Parker blood to be a Spider-Man.
Dad has to have been a scientist who used his blood specifically to make this thing, this spider.
Also, how unlikely does that make?
That he used to inject humans with to make them Spider-Man.
How unlikely does that make Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man?
While he grapples with these devastating realizations that add nothing to his character,
No, but you don't hear the song
Electro
goes,
gets
for you.
Electro gets broken out
For
of.
you, I love you long after you're gone.
And
I
that's
love you
today's
long after
episode.
you're
Thank you very much
gone,
for joining
gone,
us. This
Really, I'm
gone.
not moving on. Can we use that? Can we legally use that as the
I don't know,
outro
but
to
we're
the...
singing
No,
it, so
I
I
don't.
don't
I
think it.
highly doubt so.
Yeah.
And I also
No,
don't
I
want
don't. I do this. I think we should just sing this for the outro.
I don't. I also don't want to hear the song ever again.
But we can
Uh,
sing it for the outro,
wait, which
Daniel.
song?
I'm cool with that.
Which song did you not want to hear?
I love you long after you're gone. I love you long after you're gone, gone,
Yeah,
gone.
Electro, he's like in prison because the water dampened him. It turned him off, and then
Right, and no, he gets shoved into the Spider-Man version of Arkham Asylum, and then Dane DeHaan breaks him out because he doesn't like Oscorp. And
but he's cool and he has a leather jacket. So
well, he hates Oscorp because Oscorp
yeah,
are
but
doing shady stuff.
Also, he's cool and he has a leather jacket.
And
And
during
then
all of
he
this
tases
time,
the guards.
they
Get it?
bond.
Electricity is like a setup for Electro because he tased the guards.
Well,
Get it?
they bond. Dane DeHaan and Electro, after he breaks him out of Arkham Asylum, they bond over a mutual hatred of Spider-Man because Spider-Man went, "Hey, I'm not going to give you my blood." And Dane DeHaan got pissed off because apparently he's dying in 40 years, so there's not enough time to find any
Come
other
up with
solution.
his own cure. You own a science lab. Your dad got so close. Just put them on it.
Yeah, like come on, man.
It's not that hard. Also, we got to
he
wrap
gets-
this up pretty soon, but
Yes,
keep going.
I'm trying to rush through. However, someone keeps singing "For You" over and over again.
Yeah, I'm not.
The song is called
they-
Gone, Gone, Gone. So I may or
called
may
Gone,
not have looked up
You're
the
gonna be
lyrics
gone,
for
gone,
the
gone
close.
soon.
We're all three going to sing it,
So
except
they-
probably me and Daniel are going
Electro-
to sing it.
Electro and Dane DeHaan kill all of Oscorp's like CEO board or whatever. And
Oh,
he
we're
forces-
only here?
He forces
bring
one of
back
them
the
to take him to an underground basement that has a load of setup for future
guy.
Spider-Man villains like Doc Ock and Vulture.
Except for only Doc Ock shows up here. Vulture doesn't show up until the
Yeah,
end.
sure, but he gets the Spider-Man thing. He injects it, doesn't work, makes him go all Frankenstein. Other guy runs.
And during this, he runs
He
over
alerts the
to
Hat
this
Man.
mech suit, basically.
Yeah, he gets in the goblin suit that they set up earlier on a computer screen or something. And then he gets
Whoa, he's going goblin mode?
he's going
And
goblin.
he goes full goblin mode. He gets
Not
he
really
gets
goblin.
scaly skin and
he just
spiky hair, and that's like the extent of his goblin.
He's got spine. He's got spiky spines. So
Yeah, and his
A little
hair
goblin.
gets spiky and his ears grow and his nose turns into a bird nose.
he gets a vulture nose.
He gets a vulture nose, and
Then he
then
goes goblin mode, and then he goes in like
he
does-
flies away and does nothing for like the
Oh, yeah.
next 20
Wednesday
minutes.
is gonna like go to Oxford's, and she's in the cab, and Danny DeVito's driving it because he Taxi, the TV show about a cab driver.
Not Taxi Driver.
There's a guy in the taxi who looks nothing like Danny DeVito, and
He
Dalton's just
looked and
delusional.
sounded a little like Danny
He
DeVito.
both looked and sounded like Danny
Gwen Stacy-
DeVito.
Gwen Stacy gets out, and it says "I love you" in spider webs on one of the bridges.
Yeah, and he tries to talk her one last time into being like, "Hey, what if I went to England?" You know, and he turned.
Jack the Ripper, hey, they got knife crime. Hey, forget about it. I can go to England.
Uh,
yeah.
At this point, he sees a electrical plant that happens to be right next to where he is.
Right, and all the power goes out, so he goes towards that. She's like, "I'm going with you." No, you're not.
And he webs her hand to the side of the car and goes, "Piss off," and then just webs away. He finds Electro at this little place. They do a little battle. Electro sings "Down Goes the Spider" or whatever the song's called, the nursery rhyme.
The electric things is like making music.
Yeah, it goes like do do.
And it's
do,
the
do.
Itsy Bitsy Spider, which Willem Dafoe sang in Spider-Man 2002.
Correct. Yeah.
How does he even beat Electro in the scene? He tries to hit him with water, but it doesn't work. So eventually, he just throws a battery at him. No, he loads him up with so much electricity that he explodes.
Pops. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Gwen Stacy helps with barely. So that adds the kill counter up to 28 now.
Yeah.
Well,
there were a few in the middle that we missed, but yeah.
There's a couple, but
We stopped counting.
you lose track after a while because Spider-Man's a sociopath in this movie.
I think he's more of just an ignorant douchebag, but
Murderous. Murderous is what he is.
it's like manslaughter, and it's
Yeah, no,
manslaughter
it's
at best.
manslaughter at best, but it's a lot of manslaughter.
It's a whole lot of manslaughter.
yeah. But anyway, he does that. Then
Goblin pops
got
in
something else.
and
He's goblining.
Goblin
they're like-
pops in, Goblin fights Spider-Man, Goblin kills Gwen Stacy. Peter Parker goes to Gwen Stacy's funeral. Aunt May leaves him, which is real weird. She just leaves him there at the funeral alone. After the funeral, Peter Parker's really sad for about a year. He keeps visiting her grave for all 4 seasons of the year. Then Rhino shows up, and Spider-Man decides to come out of retirement, and that little kid from earlier is there, and he says, "Thanks for keeping the streets safe for me, Spider-Man. I'm Spider-Man." And then he swings the thing at the Rhino, and the credits roll. And we didn't watch the after credits scene.
I don't think there's not. The after credit scene is just the guy walking through Oscorp.
It's the Hat Man. We did watch the after credits. The Hat
No.
Man.
The Hat Man happened during the movie. There's another after credit scene with the same Hat Man.
Anyway,
to
the basis
Harry
of this whole conversation
again.
is
No,
the whole point of this whole conversation is I hope all of you who
Yeah,
like
but there's
TASM 2
more.
don't get TASM 3.
I think that's it. Anyways, but yeah, that was a movie. We watched that
I-
movie.
I-
Underrated masterpiece. Or
All right, so
and
here's
I
the
feel like
question.
they-
Here's
I-
the question for this
The whole
speech.
movie is I hope TASM 3 never
Oh,
gets
yeah,
made.
I remember another thing that I liked about this movie was the scene where he was fighting him in the clock with all the gears, only because it reminded me of that same scene from Cars 2, which is an actual underrated masterpiece, and I would have rather watched that than this.
Okay, this is my question. Would you say this movie
No.
is an underrated masterpiece? If not, why? Daniel, you go first.
Because I didn't like it.
Cool. Josh, go.
Because no aspect of the movie other than the visuals and the score is in any way coherent or good.
Can you see the perspective of why people like this?
I can see on a
I
purely
think masterpiece is extreme, but I can see
I
how
can see
people,
why you would like this.
because I didn't hate this movie. Like
it's
I talked
pretty
shit on
enough.
the movie for an hour, but like I enjoyed watching this.
I don't.
At least for the visuals and
It is pretty enough
Or-
that if I like switched my brain off and tuned in every sort of 20 minutes or so,
Oh, yeah, well, my brain was off.
But
I'd
it's
find
so
something fun.
long and it's so pointless and nothing
it is so-
happens.
Yeah.
There's 30 minutes worth of story in this 2.5-hour movie. You know, like,
Yeah, don't I know it?
basically I hate this movie and I hope
I
TASM 3
do.
doesn't happen.
I hate this
And-
movie. And if TASM 3 happens, I stand by this. I got a lot of hate for saying this in a post I made once on Instagram. If TASM 3 happens, please don't let Mark Webb direct it.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
because there's a lot of stuff, and me and Josh kind of argued about this while we were watching. There's a lot of stuff in this movie that is his fault. 4 of the best actors in Hollywood having
think this-
the worst performances
I've
of
thought
their
for a while
lives is Mark
that-
Webb's fault.
So much of a movie like you could have the best actors in the world, but if it's a shitty director and it's poorly written, like it'll be bad. Like,
Yes.
So much of an actor's performance is dependent on how they are directed and how good of a director is directing them.
And
this-
Mark
and Mark
Webb
Webb
fails.
He's not.
Well,
he's
this
not-
movie,
I've
this
never
movie,
seen another Mark Webb movie, so he could be a fine director.
he did 500 Days of
He's a
Summer,
director
which is a
that's-
very, very well done rom-com.
That's some whatever.
But no, I think the blame
listen.
falls partly on
So-
Mark Webb and partly, I would say mostly on Sony for trying to get a movie where they could just make a Sinister Six film straight off the bat. instead of
Sure,
taking
and
their
it
time.
also falls on the writers, and it also falls on it falls on everyone but Hans Zimmer and the cinematographer.
Mm.
The blame for this
Yeah.
movie falls on everyone but the cinematographer and Hans Zimmer, because those are the only 2 good things in this movie, and the visual effects team. All 3 of those people did a great job.
And it wasn't
One
just
person
Hans
on the
Zimmer.
visual effects team.
It wasn't just Hans Zimmer, I would like to say, because the
I
actual
don't
Spider-Man
care.
score. No, because the man's dead, so I want to give him a prop.
Hans Zimmer's not dead.
No, but the guy who did the Spider-Man score, he is dead.
Rest in peace.
Rest in power. All right, Daniel, you ready? You ready? We're getting ready to close this out.
I will see you guys later. I'm not sticking around for that.
Are you ready?
You're gonna say for
Are
it.
you
Come
ready?
on,
Are you
at
ready?
least
Are you ready? Are you ready?
How
And
does
I
the
would
song
do it for you, baby. I'm not moving on. I'll love you long after you're gone. For you, for you. You will never sleep alone. I'll love you long after you're gone, and long after you're gone, gone, gone. One more time. Hit it one more time for the outro. And I would do it for you, for you. I'll love you long after you're gone. I'll long you long after you're gone, gone, gone.